Hi, my name's Jan, and I'm teaching the HSP program at Langports. It's a new program here, so we're trialing lots of different things in the program and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So the Langports HSP program is divided into a few different areas. So in the morning, we learn general English, basically, through a textbook, which would be fairly similar to what general English is, and it's learning things like vocabulary and grammar and all these sort of basic foundations that students need. In the afternoon, or in the middle and afternoon sessions, is when we start to diverge completely from UFO English, because general English is usually focused on improving vocabulary. It's usually improving a skill, speaking, listening, reading, whereas if you want to succeed in an Australian high school, well, it's already expected that you are very good at reading. You are very good at speaking. You already understand grammar. So a high school teacher is not going to sit there and teach a lesson on, okay, today we're going to learn about present simple or past continuous. It will be already expected that you know these things. Instead, a high school teacher will teach you about something called literary devices. And for many students from Europe or Asia that have never grown up here, you say the word literary device and they have no idea what you're talking about. And literary device means things like metaphor, as big as a bus, or metaphor, I am so tired I could faint, something like this. So these are the sort of things that are usually only associated with very high English, but it's expected already in primary school here. So for what's considered really high level in general English is considered foundation in HSP English, in high school English. So I think that's the biggest jump that we are trying to do here at Langports, is that English in general English is not going to help them that much when it comes to high school English. It's almost two different subjects. It's almost like maths and geography. They're totally different. So my experience, I'm studying a master's here in Australia. I taught high school English in Czech Republic, which is very similar to general English, but obviously I grew up in Australia and I went to high school here, so I know a lot about high school. And now I'm back at university studying my master's, and so I'm doing that plus teaching in a high school for a month each semester. So I have to take time off and go and do teacher training for a month, and that's where I get to experience and put into practice some of the things that I'm learning. Basically totally different. So for students that are coming from overseas, English that they experience in their home countries is nothing like what they experience here in Australia. So the main goal for me and the main goal for Langports is to make a bridge in between. It will be very difficult for them to do Australian high school work straight away, which is why they do HSP preparation. Otherwise, the jump is too big. So that's what we're trying to do here. So we're trying to mix some of these things in here, writing a short story, writing an essay, doing a presentation. And on top of that, then we mix in other subjects, geography, science. I come from a sporting background, so twice a week we go outside and do health and physical education. So we might play soccer, learn the rules of soccer, play soccer, and then afterwards write a report. How did the game go? What were the good parts, the bad parts? Did we understand the rules correctly? And things like that. Because when they get to high school, they will need to do all subjects, maths, English, geography, history, and they might already know history in their own language, but do they know the vocabulary? Do they know the type of questions that a teacher would ask? So that's the main goal that we're going for. I think for a lot of students that come here, the biggest culture shock for them is how much conversation is in an Australian classroom. A lot of it is done through discussion and group work, partner work, and a lot of students, it's something that they're not used to. A lot of students that come from overseas, especially Asia, are really introvert, which it's okay to be introvert. There's nothing wrong with that. But in some way, we're trying to change that a little bit. Not turning someone different, but in Australia, it would be very difficult for a student who likes to study by themselves, studies extremely hard, does the test and pass. It doesn't quite work like that here. Here, there is a lot of, not noise, but a classroom is much more collaborative. There's much more noise, there's much more sharing, moving around. Even the structure of the classroom, everybody is facing each other. So no one is sitting behind each other. Everyone is able to talk to another person. So I think that's one of the biggest differences, especially in my classroom compared to a regular classroom, is that our classroom is much more live than another classroom. So we like to do a lot of conversation, a lot of sharing, a lot of group work, and I think that's a big difference between the two classrooms. Myself and another student got a haircut. She said that she didn't like our haircuts and said that it was too short, and everyone was so shocked because they, in a regular classroom, you'd never tell the teacher that she thought that they had a bad haircut, but everyone thought it was funny. I thought it was funny too. And so that's what kind of atmosphere is in the classroom. It's not rude, but it's friendly. Not that a teacher and a student are friends. It's still, the relationship's still the same, but it's okay to say something like, oh, teacher, that's a nice shirt. Or teacher, I don't know if that's a very good shirt today. The other one is better, or something like that. So by making that kind of relationship, then they can express themselves more, talk more, and then it's much easier to teach them, because the top-down method, it might work overseas, but here it doesn't work here. It's just not how we learn here. That, okay, so today we're going to learn about this, here are the examples, and tomorrow is a test. It's not how we learn things here. So yeah, you have to set the right atmosphere, and that's something that they'll experience in school as well, making jokes with the teacher, like, oh, teacher, you're late today, what happened? Or something like that. That would be a completely normal comment to make in an Australian classroom, but obviously it would be a big shock. They become much more confident. All of the students, even the ones that have their English is at a bit lower level, they still start to express themselves more and more, and some of our students who started at a lower level are now feeling comfortable, even though the language might not be at the highest level. They're not afraid to speak, and that's basically the whole point of the program, is so that you feel comfortable in the classroom. You might not be the best student, but as long as you feel comfortable, that's probably the best. And I think that's the main goal, is that a lot of students feel really comfortable in the classroom to make jokes and tell stories and things like that.